What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Smuttynose Brewing Company, and they are out of Hampton, New Hampshire, and this is their Old Brown Dog Ale. So this is American Brown Ale. It comes in at 6.5% alcohol by volume, 30 IBUs at the time of review. I don't know exactly how old this bottle is, but it does have a best by date of November 3rd of 2024. And right now we're just over 6 weeks away from that date, so we should be more than good to go. So full disclosure, I've had this one before. Many years ago. I've had it once, maybe twice, but it was back in like the early 2010s. I think I had this twice, and the last time I had this one was like 2013, 2014. And I'll just be honest with you, not a huge fan of it. Not because of the beer itself, but because of my palate. Wasn't a huge American Brown Ale fan back then, and even now, I'm not a huge fan of American Brown Ales. I prefer English Brown Ales. However, there's been a couple over the past, I'd say 2 or 3 years that I have enjoyed, so I'm hoping that I enjoy this one more than I originally did. I guess we'll see. It's just an American Brown Ale. The one thing I enjoy about English Brown Ales is they're more malt forward, malt driven, where the American Brown Ales a little bit more hop forward, and that wasn't my jam 10, 12 years ago. So for me, I always preferred the English Brown Ales, but we'll see. And when it comes to Smuttynose, I think like the three core / year-round beers that really resonate with me, and I know a lot of other people out there and kind of put them on the map, was their Finest Kind IPA, their Robust Porter, and this beer. Those are the three that I could typically find almost everywhere I would shop. So yeah, I thought it was finally time to review it, considering I've reviewed the Finest Kind IPA recently, and I've also reviewed their Robust Porter a couple years back. So leave a little bit in the bottle because I don't want to put this right to the top, so I can have a little bit of a area to get my nose in there. So there are a lot of like floaties and chunks and whatnot, and this was just, I picked it right out of the cooler of Wegmans grocery store mix of 6 area, and I put it right in my fridge. But there are fucking tons of floaties. I don't know, that's probably not gonna come off on camera, but there are an amazing amount of floaties in this beer. But this has that nice, like, I'd say more of like a copperish kind of color to it. It's probably going to look darker on camera, maybe even brown. But in person, if anything, it's like a lighter brown, but it's more like copper, if anything. It had about a finger of a lightly tanned or khaki colored head that is now dissipated to a thin film. I didn't pour it super aggressive, so I didn't go for a huge head or anything, but again, tons of particulates floating around. Suspended in animation, almost looks like coffee grounds in there. And this has a pretty good clarity. You're not going to see it probably as much on the camera, but hold it up to light, definitely has some good clarity. So it looks nice, plays the role of a brown ale, maybe a little bit lighter than I'm accustomed to, but on camera it probably is going to look what it should look like. Anyway, let's get those. I'm not getting a whole lot. There's a little bit of like a generic malt character that's more like nutty, maybe a little bit like cocoa powder, toffee, caramel, but very slight. Yeah, as I'm smelling this, cocoa powder, or like a baker's chocolate, where it's not like, it doesn't smell like it's gonna be a sweet chocolate. It smells more like a baking chocolate. But yeah, I'd say a little bit of caramel, toffee, bready to some degree, a little bit of nuttiness. No real hop character to speak of. Honestly, this nose is lacking, surprisingly. I thought it would be a little bit more vibrant and bombastic. Shout out to Paul over at PaTroll. Yeah, I can't really pull anything else out of it. Smells all right. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Okay, the taste is a bit better. It's funny how your palate changes. Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations in the comment section with some of you guys out there about how like trying beers, after, many years, or even my palate has changed on a yearly basis. I think I remember reading something like your palate changes or shifts like every 9 months or something like that. I don't know if that's actual and factual, but I've noticed over the past couple of years, there are a lot of styles that I am not loving as much as I used to, and then a lot of old school styles that I used to dislike that I enjoy. Now, off of that first sip, I'm not going to say I love this beer. I'm not even going to say I like thoroughly enjoy it. But I used to, the first time I had this one, I did not like it at all. Second time I had it, it may have been passable. This is better than what I remember it being. It's just, there isn't a ton of flavor here. Body's nice for 6.5. I'd say medium, maybe a skosh over. It's not thin. It's not watery, so the body's cool. The mouthfeel, Has a nice moderate carbonation. It's crisp. It's somewhat effervescent. It's spritzy on the tongue, but not too big for the style. It has almost a smooth, creamy sensation as well. Definitely smooth on the palate. So I'd say the body and mouthfeel are really nice for this, especially considering it's a 6.5% American Brown Ale. I'd like, yeah, it's a really nice body and mouthfeel. If I'm being honest though, the taste is more of like an English style brown ale, because it doesn't have a significant amount, to me, of hop character. Not even significant. There's not a bunch. There's like maybe a touch, an ever so slight smidge of hop character on the back that I'm detecting. I always remember, and I guess it depends on who's brewing the American Brown Ale, which brewery. I remember American Brown Ales for me, I had a handful, and they almost tasted like almost an IPA in brown ale form. And I don't remember this one being that hop forward, but it definitely had more of a substantial hoppy character in it. And this doesn't have that much, which you would think I would dig, but it also doesn't have a shit ton of flavor in general. So all of that stuff in the nose, the baker's chocolate or cocoa powder, the nuttiness, a little bit of a caramel and toffee thing, you get that at the forefront, or at least I'm getting that at the forefront. It kind of stays with me throughout the palate. Those are the predominant notes, maybe a smidge of like a fruity, like orchard fruit in here too, like a little bit of like a overripened apple. So like, it has a little bit of like a fruitiness that you would associate with the style. Maybe even a touch of a dark fruit. Like a dark cherry, or like a black cherry, or like a plum. Very, very slight though. And on the finish, it finishes with this earthy, almost floral-esque kind of hop character. But it's more earthy than anything, and it doesn't have a substantial bitterness. This is like mildly bitter to me. Now, it might be a little bit older. When breweries put Best By dates on, you know, what does that exactly mean? I don't know when you brewed it. So do they brew this one and give it a year? Is this from last November? Do they give it 6 months? So is this from, May? I have no idea. But I'm coming in under the Best By date by just over 6 weeks. And I will say that there isn't much hop character here. Now, that makes me curious as if I try this like super duper uber fresh, would there be more hop character? Not that I need it, but stylistically, I think if you're going to pick up American Brown Ale, you want some decent hop character in here. I'm really not getting it. It just drinks like an old school like English brown ale, which I'm cool with. It's not super flavorful, if I'm being honest with you. And you guys know I like Smuttynose. I consider their Robust Porter one of the best porters out there in the US. Their Finest Kind IPA was a great old school IPA. The Imperial version of this, which is essentially an old ale, they're really old brown dog ale. That's delicious as well, and I have reviewed that many years ago. But for this, lacking. It's just lacking. I will say, there is a decent like semi-dry finish. So this is pretty well balanced because it's not over the top sweet from all that malty goodness, but it doesn't have what I thought was going to balance it out would be more of like a, like a mild to moderate and more approaching moderate hop character. And what's happening here is more dry than bitter, and the hop character isn't all that pronounced on the finish. So a little bit different. So stylistically, I don't think for me it's kind of hitting the notes it needs to hit. However, as a beer, I don't think it's all that bad. I want more flavor from this, but I don't know what to really say about it other than I think it's a decent, solid, good brown ale. And whether you call American Brown Ale, English Brown Ale, if they just put brown ale on the label for what I'm drinking in my glass right now, I'd be cool with it. And I would probably think it's, if I was doing this blind, I would say it's more English than American. But again, this could be a bit older. Maybe Wegmans did not handle this correctly, even though I picked it off, out of the cooler. Maybe it was on the shelf. Maybe it went from the cooler to the shelf. Who knows? I don't know. There's no off flavors here. It's nothing bad about it. It's just, I don't know. It's not really an American brown ale, if that makes any sense. So again, it's just one guy's opinion. Maybe you drink this all the time and you're like, that's definitely American brown ale through and through. I don't think so for me personally, but that's why I review the beer. So, 6.5%, hides the alcohol extremely well. There's no booziness detected on the palate. There's no warming in the chest, nothing. So this is I wouldn't say it's quite like danger juice, but it's one of those beers where you could drink 2, 3, 4 bottles of this and very quickly get messed up because you don't understand what you're drinking at a 6.5%. You're like, oh, I'm starting to feel it. So yeah, rating wise, I don't really know. Like a lot of times I mentioned this in prior reviews, like I formulate like a score after the first sip or like when I smell it, I kind of have an idea of like where I'm going. I have no idea with this one. Stylistically, I don't think, again, if you're going to say American Brown Ale, I'd give this like a 3 out of 5. Like it's not really American Brown Ale to me. If you said brown ale, I'd give it like a 3.5. I think it's a little bit better than that. So I'm going to give Smuttynoses Old Brown Dog Ale you know what, I'll give it a 3.65 out of 5. Why? Because numbers, and they don't matter. I would hope at the end of this review you kind of understand where I'm coming from. This isn't a beer that I would rebuy personally. Of what's in my glass right now, I wouldn't rebuy this because it's not really moving me. I would drink this if someone handed it to me. Like, let's say somebody had this, and no one's gonna, that I know, have this at like a party, like a barbecue or something like that. But I would drink this again, no questions asked. It's not bad or anything. It's just, there are better brown ales that I've had personally that I'd much rather have over than this one. And on top of that, it's not really an American brown ale. So 3.65 out of 5. That's the highest I can go on this one. Not fantastic to me, but yeah, anyway. If you've had this one though, and I say this, you know, this is my shtick at the end of the review. Oh, if you had this one, post in the comment section, and I always really mean it. But in this case, you know, Jesse over at Bumpyisms, or anybody in the New England region that has had Smuttynose beers before, what do you remember of this beer being many years ago? If you've had it, you know, let's say 8, 10, 12 years ago, and what do you remember of it, you know, in the past compared to now? Have you had them, you know, over the past 10 to 12, 15 years? Because I remember this one being a little bit more intense with the hop character and kind of crushing my palate back in my infancy of drinking craft beer. And now it's just kind of like, it's all right. So I'd be curious. Please post in the comment section if you've had this one before, no matter if it's recently or many years ago. I would love to hear from you. Price point availability, $10.99 a 6-pack for that, which is not bad. Under $2 for 6.5%, or under $2 a bottle for you know, something that's 6.5% American brown ale. I'm all right with it. They also have it in cans now. And availability, it's Smuttynose. I have no idea. They might have a beer finder on their website. For a while, we did not get Smuttynose here. Like, they pulled out maybe a couple years ago, or if they didn't pull out, there wasn't many bottle shops ordering their beers. And all of a sudden, they've kind of made a little bit of a return. I've seen Finest Kind. I've seen this Robust Porter, some of their sours. I've seen the really old Brown Dog Ale at times. A couple others too. So I don't know, but my least favorite of their core beers, their year-round beers, I would take a Robust Porter over this and pretty much everything in their portfolio all day, every day. So yeah, I'm going to shut this one down. Like I said, 6.5%. I think that's one. The best part about this beer for me is the body, the mouthfeel, and the fact that it hides the ABV pretty well. And the fact that I do like malt-driven beers, and this is honestly a little bit more malt-driven than I anticipated. So I don't dislike this beer. It's just like, it doesn't move me. And if I was reaching on the back here, I don't know if I should have said make mine a smutty, their tagline for many years. If I was making mine a smutty, it would 100% be the Imperial version of this one, or it'd be their Robust Porter, because that's where it's at for me. Anyway, I'm going to shut this one down. Like I said, post comment section if you've had this one before. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.